Welcome to Mind Your Autistic Brain. We are kicking off January 2022 today. Wow, this has just been 2021 was an amazing year. So, if you'd like to hear all of the things that we've accomplished here in the Mind Your Autistic Brain community, what I've had as far as some personal challenges and personal accomplishments, but also learn about what I've got in store for the community this year. I have some amazing segments and some great things planned, and I can't wait to share them with you. So let's get started. If you're new to Mind Your Autistic Brain with Social Audie in the talk show, welcome. I'm so glad you're here. I'm Carol Jean. I'm a late identified autistic. I didn't know till I was 39. That was in 2014. And I've been on this journey for 8 years. I'm also ADHD. I'm a mom of 2 neurodistinct boys. One is autistic, one is ADHD. So we have an interesting, fun time in our house. I'm also partner to Josh, and it's really just been an amazing journey these last 2 years with Mind Your Autistic Brain. And I'm so glad that you're here. I'm so thankful that you found us. One of my big goals is to reach 250,000 late identified ADHD autistic adults, and over the next 5 years. And I'll be sharing some of those insights. So, as far as the community goes in 2021, it's been pretty spectacular. That goal that I have set of 250,000 late identified autistic lives being impacted over the next 5 years made a pretty significant dent this year. So we've reached over 161,000 late identified ADHD autistics this year across all the social media platforms. That's in over 65 countries. Holy cow, 65 countries. Guys, this just touches my heart so deeply. And the biggest number, the one that really means a lot to me, because this is where I know I've directly had an impact, and the community and people in our community have had an impact on one another, is 3,413 lives have been directly impacted by Mind Your Autistic Brain. That's through one of the 7 courses that I created and launched this year, including the one on the Autistic community that I did with my friend Diane and Danielle, which is just so spectacular. And if you haven't checked it out, we would love for you to join us over there. I've hosted 6 workshops, live workshops, 56 one-on-one coaching sessions this year, and over 500 Zoom participants in over 600 Zoom sessions. Holy cow. Zoom was pretty big this year, I think, because, we've been on lockdown and pandemic. And so it's been really fantastic to be able to connect with so many of you guys live and just one-on-one chats and small group sessions. And this has been really fun because, I love to meet new people. I love to connect new friends together. And my big word for this year was collaboration. That was my word for 2021. And I think I did a pretty good job of introducing people to one another and collaborating and making connections. I've made over 2,696 new friends across Instagram, Facebook, and Mind Your Autistic Brain talk show this year. That's like direct conversations and connections. I also have collaborated on over 42 different projects. That is including autistics and non-autistics. And I've been a guest 8 times on other podcasts or YouTube shows. Mind Your Autistic Brain has been nominated for 6 awards this year. And those 6 awards were through the WeGo Health Awards. Mind Your Autistic Brain was nominated as Advocating for Another, Best in Show for Blog, Best in Show for Facebook, Best in Show for Podcast, Patient Leader Hero, Rookie of the Year. Guys, I want to share a couple of the comments that came in from people who nominated Mind Your Autistic Brain, because I was so deeply touched. It meant so much to me to know that the time that I put in, the work and all of the things in the heart is making a difference in your life. Here's one of the comments. As someone who has only been diagnosed at age 39 in March, I've found Carol Jean's page a treasure. She's kind, warm, and genuinely caring. Not only does she share incredibly useful information and tips, but she engages with followers. She reaches out if she sees you're struggling. Such genuineness is a rarity and deserves to be recognized. That was from Siobhan. Thank you so much for those words. Another person posted in the nomination category for Rookie of the Year. Carol Jean, through social media, instructional videos, and personal coaching, has helped many to a whole other level of acceptance and functionality, cherishing this autism world. Her compassion and creativity is like no other in the industry, which is small as it is. Her commitment and valiant rigor, continuously being available and accessible, is a feat. Thank you. Last one. This is from Chill Vibes. This is from Alex. She genuinely has a heart to help the autistic community and is there for you if you ever need to talk. She has a heart of gold. Man, guys, those meant so much to me. And I really appreciate everybody that took time to nominate Mind Your Autistic Brain in one of these categories. I want to thank you for being a part of the community, for being an active, engaged participant. I started Mind Your Autistic Brain because it's what I needed. As a late identified autistic, I couldn't find any resources. I couldn't, nothing was given to me other than, here's a list of some books and, a couple of pamphlets. And that was pretty much it. There was nothing to say, how do you navigate this? How do you go through, that grieving process that happens when your whole world's been turned upside down because you finally learn that you're not broken, you're not defective. Your brain just works differently and it's not a deficit. Yes, we have struggles and challenges, but that there are these amazing sides to it when and how to navigate that. And I couldn't find that. That's what I needed. And, finding a community where kindness and gentleness and patience and understanding were at the core of how we communicated with one another. That was kind of a challenge in the beginning too, because I would find groups it was a lot of complaining. It was a lot of, shaming. It was a lot of negativity and dogpiling if somebody used the word that was the only word that they knew. And, that was a big thing that happened to me. And I know it's happened to so many of you. That doesn't happen in Mind Your Autistic Brain. We show up with what we know, with the vocabulary and the vernacular that we have at the time, because not everyone is told, hey, you're autistic. Some people are told, hey, you've got Asperger's and you're high functioning, all of the things that we all know now, but not everybody knows that. That's something that we learn along our journey. And having compassion and understanding and just being genuinely kind and welcoming to a new person that's finally gotten some answers to their life and to why they've struggled is really important to me. And that's at the heart of what Mind Your Autistic Brain is about, the foundations of those. Being compassionate, being kind, being gentle, being understanding, not just with one another, but with ourselves, because we've usually not given that and extended it to ourselves for so very long. And that's part of what we do in Mind Your Autistic Brain. So on a personal note, some accomplishments and things that I've had in my life this year. It's been an amazing year. I told Josh the other night, I was like, I have to tell you, I'm 47 years old and this is the best year I've ever had in my entire life. This is the most accomplished I've ever felt at the end of a year. Normally I reach December, and you start focusing on, well, what did I accomplish this year? What did I do? What did I not do? And then there's all those feelings of, oh, I have to set goals for 2021 and yada, yada, yada. You guys know, and there's so many years that I've never felt like I succeeded, like I accomplished anything, like I lived in a way that meant something. This has been the first year I've truly felt that way. And it's because of each one of you. Truly, it has, you are the reason that I show up and do what I do. You're the reason that I've had such a spectacular year on a personal level, because each connection, each time somebody posted and reached out, each time somebody commented and said, I needed to hear this today. This was something that made a difference in my life. Or, oh my gosh, I didn't know this information. This is me. This is something I never knew before. That has meant the world to me, because I know what it's like to not know those things about yourself, to not understand why maybe something's really hard, or why you see something a certain way and nobody else seems to get it, maybe. So for me, on a personal note this year, just some of the achievements that have made this the best year of my life. I have walked and run over 400 kilometers this year. That's 240 miles. And one of the big aspects of that was I joined a challenge to run 100 miles. That's 160 kilometers back in January. And I had some health challenges this year. There were some months this year that I was knocked out. I was in the bed, it was tough. You guys have, y'all saw some of that journey. It was pretty rough. But I accomplished and completed this task. And I did it in 10 months with having all of the health challenges and shoulder injury that I had. So that's been really huge, because, I got really sick in 2012 and I couldn't get out of the bed. I wasn't able to stand up on my own. I was in a wheelchair for 8 to 10 months. Then I was on a walker for almost a year and a half. I didn't drive a car for 3.5, almost 4 years, because I wasn't able to. I remember just those 23 steps from my bed to the bathroom were huge. There were days I couldn't feed myself. So to be able to say that I have walked and run 240 miles, 400 kilometers this year, even with the health challenges, that's huge. That's huge for me. And I truly, deeply appreciate that my body was blessing me with that. I've read 71 books. I had no idea till my friends over at Friendly City Books out of Columbus, Mississippi, asked earlier this past week, hey, how many books did you read on your reading list this year? And I'm like, well, I didn't have like a goal for reading, other than I try and read at least 30 minutes every day. Some days I can't do that because my POTS and my dysautonomia kicks in, and my eye teaming, my tracking is off, and I can't really read very easily. So I was shocked. I had to go back into my Kindle and scroll all the way down. And I was like, holy cow, I read 71 books this year. And just so you know, 71 books, those were, I think maybe 5 or 6 of them were for pleasure. The rest were books to learn more about business, more books to learn more about being autistic, tons of research papers in that, not part of the books, but tons of research papers and articles within that reading this year. And a lot of books learning more about different aspects so that I could share and help and serve others in a better way, to better educate myself and to grow myself. Okay, big one here. I flipped my calendar each month on time this year, every month. Between the 1st and the 3rd of the month, that was my goal. I flipped my calendar, because that's one of my signposts that I'm doing well. When I don't flip my calendar within those first 3 days of the month, I know I'm not doing well. I know that's a signpost that I'm heading into burnout territory. This year, I flipped my calendar every month on time. This was huge. This is a really big win. And by the way, Josh and I get a Bob Ross calendar every year. We love Bob Ross. So I'm actually on the hunt for a Bob Ross calendar, because I have been to all my typical stores, the normal ones where we normally buy them. they haven't had calendars like they normally do in years past. I don't know if it's the pandemic or what. So I got to go online and find my Bob Ross calendar because I got to have that. I had a spider bite in June, July. Oh my gosh, that was really tough. That set off my what we suspect to be mast cell activation syndrome, and it was bad. It was really bad. I mean, there were days that my heart was racing, my blood pressure and heart rate were all over the place. It was tough. It was a tough summer, guys. And I also had a shoulder injury this summer. I got a little overzealous and at the gym, I think. And so that was 3 months of physical therapy. That was, whoo, boy, that was tough. And then what was even worse is when the physical therapist said, "Hey, Carol Jean, you're doing so great. You're one of our best patients. You do all the stuff you're supposed to do, and you're really, doing things at home as well. We hate to tell you this, but your shoulder injury is not going to heal through physical therapy alone. There's something else going on. You're going to need to see a surgeon." I think my heart stopped and my stomach dropped when they told me that because I do not tolerate anesthesia. And I even went through all kinds of allergy testing at the allergist last year, trying to find a safe topical anesthesia just so I could have like a little skin surgery thing. That didn't happen. So this is a little scary for me. So definitely keep me in your heart and prayers, guys. And if you have any suggestions for, any medical professionals that may be able to help me with this, I would be most appreciative. Please email me. I have been creating more art this year, thanks to my friend Zoe at the Autistic Art Club. I'm an artist, that's my heart. That's also my outlet, my creative outlet, my way that I express myself. Like my friend Kenny Davis at Painting on the Spectrum, he says, "This is how I share my emotions. This is how I share my brain." And for me, that definitely is part of it as well. It's part of my creative rest. It's part of my appreciative rest, how I connect with myself, and as a late identified ADHD autistic with alexithymia, it has been one of the greatest ways that I have found for me to express and connect with my emotions. I've had lots of snail mail this year, both sent and received. Thank you to everyone who has snail mailed me, cards and letters and gifts. And it truly is just one of the things I passionately love. And I have mailed out all kinds of journals and tote bags and letters and cards to many of you in the community as well. So I would love to kind of do more of that and carry more of that snail mail into 2022. We sold our house in Colorado this year. We found our forever home property this year back in May. And Josh and I are really excited to be able to plan and build our forever home this year. That's one of the things that we'll be doing together. We hope we've got our fingers crossed that all the money things will line up for that to happen. Oh gosh, we've had so many hikes. Josh and I took a vacation to the beach with our boys back in May during my birthday month. We visited with family a few times this year, which has been a real blessing with everything that's been happening, because that hasn't been possible a whole lot. I got new glasses this year and contacts. That's a big thing because my eyesight is really bad. I found a new coffee. Oh, we know this is like the heart and soul of my morning. So I found a new brand of coffee from a company called New Orleans Roasters. They're out of New Orleans, Louisiana. And what I love is they are alumni to LSU. I am an LSU graduate, Louisiana State University, and they are Tiger business owners. And so I love being able to support other LSU alumni businesses. And one I'm drinking right now and today is the bourbon pecan pie, because I'm a huge fan of flavored coffees. I've personally taken over 15 courses, both free and paid this year, specifically to gain deeper insight, learn new knowledge, learn new tactics and strategies and skills so that I can better serve each and every one of you. I don't sell and create courses that I don't also invest in other people to teach and train and mentor me. That's really important. Education and knowledge is very important to me. And of course, to sort of wrap up my fun personal highlights of the year, I dressed up as Barbie for Halloween. And I got in false eyelashes, which I always wanted to do, but I was always scared to do it. So thank you to Mara, my darling daughter at Sassy Autistic Advocate, who helped inspire me and helped me learn how to apply false eyelashes. I know that sounds so silly, but guys, it was something I always wanted to do. And dressing up as Barbie was a really big deal for me this year because I never felt that I was worthy of dressing up as a character I always loved and wanted to do since I was a little girl. So that was kind of a big win for me as well. I just want to say thank you to each and every one of you for being a part of my life, for being a part of the Mind Your Autistic Brain community. So let's get into the exciting things that I got planned for Mind Your Autistic Brain in 2022. We're going to continue to focus on autistic burnout because that's my jam. That's because that's usually where we come to our identification in our life later in life, is we usually have hit a really rough burnout, probably the worst we've ever had. And that's where we usually get identified. And also, through the process of our children going through that identification, that was sort of the case for me. My autistic burnout was pretty horrific, but I didn't recognize it. I didn't learn I was autistic till my son was diagnosed, and the little neuropsychologist looked at me and said, "Hey, I think you were missed." And I'm like, no, I'm not. I'm right here. Right. So very autistic in my response. But burnout is such a huge part of our existence because if we don't have the energy, if we don't have the mental clarity and the executive function skills and all the things that it requires to live, because we're in burnout, we can't do the things that we need in our life to live that thriving life. So autistic burnout will continue to be one of the focus areas here. Self-care from the inside out. As neurodistinct humans, we self-care in a very different way from the rest of the world. It's not slapping cucumbers on our eyeballs, putting our feet up and binge into some Netflix. For us, it is very different. It has to occur in a different way because self-care is critical to our maintenance, to our mental, physical, and emotional well-being and health. So we're going to continue to talk about that. And of course, my other two very favorite topics, relationships and communication styles. Because as autistics and ADHDers, our relationships come from our communication styles, and our communication styles are very unique and different. And when we have meltdown, shutdown, and burnout, it also impacts our communication and also impacts our relationship styles. So those we will continue to do. And Allie and I are really excited because we've got some wonderful things planned for Coaching Cafe this year. So here's what we got coming, guys. We got new focus segments here on the talk show. So we're going to kick these off coming up this month with accommodations. Each month, we're going to do a special segment on accommodations. And we're going to talk about accommodations in work. We're going to talk about accommodations in school. We're going to talk about accommodations at home, in your own home, and in public spaces. And I've got some really amazing guests planned to come and share and discuss these topics and these subjects. And we'll go in a little bit deeper each month. We're going to have some actionable strategies and tools for you guys to try and apply in your own lives. Number two is we're going to have special segments on insights and going deeper into understanding of the late identified ADHD autistic adult for clinicians and therapists from the actually autistic adult perspective. I'm really excited to do this segment every month. I will be inviting clinicians and therapists to join me on the talk show, both autistic and non-autistic. And I want to also invite you, the Mind Your Autistic Brain members, to have conversations on the show with me to discuss insights that we want clinicians and therapists to know on specific subjects and topics that we've experienced, hurdles and roadblocks, not only through diagnostic process, but through therapeutic processes, how we're treated, how we're seen, how our bodies respond differently to certain medications that we take for anxiety and depression, things like that, because that's a really big conversation that lots of us have had. And we'll be diving deeper into all of these areas. So please, make sure that you are part of that conversation. So number 3 is the female neurodistinct perspective. I'm going to do a segment specifically for all of us women. We're going to be talking about relationships, communication styles, the unique challenges that we face through work, society, family, and school, and our physical health, our female physical body, hormones, all the things, right? So much more too, because there's a ton that we can dive into in this. So we're going to do a special segment just on this. And finally, we're going to be doing behind the scenes sneak peek segments into the new Coaching Cafe Membership Academy, which will be launching very soon. We will be giving glimpses into the mastermind workshops that we have with some guest speakers that'll be coming. We've got some amazing guests scheduled for masterminds, segments from our one-on-one coaching, live sessions, and segments from our question and answer sessions each month that we'll be doing in the private membership academy for Coaching Cafe. Next week, Allie and I are going to be kicking off our special series in neurodiverse relationships. Make sure you tune in, and you're going to be learning more about the Membership Academy and how you can join and become a founding member of the Coaching Cafe Membership Academy. This year, also, just as we wrap up here very quickly, I'm going to be more focused on sharing content and information on Instagram. The Facebook group will also be going through a shift, and it will be going directly to identifying autistic burnout with resources for burnout. We'll be going deeper into identifying burnout, navigating burnout. So the Facebook group will be doing a bit of a shift there. All of the trainings and things that are already in the guide will still be available for you. That archive will remain there. And guys, if you haven't, or if you are not currently a listener to the talk show on Spotify, I would love to encourage you to shift over and give it a try. I was a dyed-in-the-wool Google podcast girl, so I was, I don't like change. When I get something or I got an app and I'm used to using it, I don't want to do anything that's going to change, right? I think you guys know what I mean. But I would really love to encourage you to make that shift with me. I changed over and I'm loving it. Now, I publish this talk show through Anchor, which is owned by Spotify. And the reason I went ahead and switched over to the Spotify app, and I use the free account, is because there's so much more engagement there. There's so many more different tools. So I would love for you guys to join me and listen to the show over on Spotify, because not only can you now listen, I'm one of the early creators who's been given access to also publishing the video. So you can also watch the video on Spotify as well as just listen to the podcast version. It includes polls. So a lot of times you'll see where I publish a poll and you can vote. And then I'm going to take those poll results and incorporate those into the conversations here on the talk show. And there's also question and answers that can be posted. So a lot of times I'll put a question out there going forward this year to ask you about some of these things and what you're looking for, what your experience has been when it comes to accommodations, experiences that you've had with clinicians and therapists, your female autistic perspective, and also, things that you've learned or experienced, or things that you will really want to share that you've had as far as Membership Academy from Coaching Cafe. So guys, this year is really digging in deeper and creating more engagement, creating more conversation here in Mind Your Autistic Brain. Because my purpose in my heart is to create a place where no one is alone, where we're not isolated, where if we want to be able to talk about something and really share what's going on in our heart and our head, we've got a brave space to do it. And that's this, that's here. Thank you so much for making 2021 such a spectacular year for Mind Your Autistic Brain, for this community, for yourselves in your own lives. I mean, over 3,000 of you have directly engaged in Mind Your Autistic Brain, either courses, coaching, or content. And I want to say thank you. I want to say thank you for stepping up and doing things that are making a difference in your life, in my life, and in the life of the person next to you. Because every time that you engage, every time you comment, every time you share, you're helping the person next to you, the person that's just joined our community and is looking for their place, their community, their friends, and their answers to why life had been so hard for so long. Let's keep encouraging one another. Let's keep helping one another. Let's keep the conversations going. Thank you so much for being here. I'll see you next week. Allie and I can't wait to share our next topic and our episode with you. Be sure to tune in next Wednesday. Take care. And oh, by the way, I've been on 2 shows lately, and make sure you check your email. I'll send the links out for those. I was a guest from Mona and Manicia on Neurodiverse Love. I shared some intimate relationship topics and conversations that Josh have and I have in our relationship. So go check out the juicy content. We even talk about sex. And I was also a guest on my friend Danielle Sullivan's Neurodiverging podcast, where we're talking about rest and sleep. Because that's my jam. That's part of the self-care plan from the inside out. And I have the whole course created to help you navigate those 7 areas of rest that are also helpful in helping you get better sleep. And you can find that on the Autistic Community. Thanks so much for being here. I'll see you next week.